Just a couple of redneck amigos full of BS reviewing bourbon, tequila, rum, beer, and more. Boozy spirits.
Good morning, Good afternoon. It's something. We got some special guests in the studio today.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited. I am very excited.
Very
we have
special
Ryan
guest.
Phillips because we needed somebody legit in the media world.
They knew how to talk.
Exactly.
But you found Ryan instead.
You're in trouble.
They weren't
Right.
available, but. And we got the mayor of Tuscaloosa, Mr. Walt Maddox, in the
That's right.
studio.
Appreciate you joining us.
Hey,
Definitely.
I
We're
appreciate
excited.
it, man. I like the uniform selection out here.
Yeah.
I'm digging this, man. I
Got
can get
poncho
used
like
to
mine.
this.
Matt didn't want to wear his. It's all right.
Nikki picked his shirt out for
Okay.
me today.
It's a fancy
I
shirt,
mean,
too.
It is. Yeah, I mean, it does.
The cuffs.
Your shirt is fancy. It's got
It's
drinks on
appropriate.
it.
Man, that's California cool right there, man. That's
That's TJ Maxx, $10.99.
You can pull it off. Well, I'll go ahead and pour some beers when we get everybody going. We got some Druid City Moonlighter
I'll get over here.
IPA.
some good local stuff.
Good local
This
by Bo.
is Bo not the best person? I mean, the best person.
He really is. And I mean, one of the very first stories that I ever wrote when I was at the Crimson White was when him and Elliot first opened. So it's, I mean, they've already become an institution, just through their products, but it's also like the personality too that they bring to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean-
but Bo's a saint.
He's like you. He's just a cool dude.
He is
I mean,
a cool
just a really cool dude.
That means a lot because I'm not a cool dude, but
You're all right.
Yeah.
Great hair though.
When are we allowed to drink?
Went all time.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cheers.
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 Bo's Spirits. Oh, yeah.
That's classic. Like,
That
it's
is
very
good.
classic
That
taste.
is.
That is. It's best. I love it. We have Black Warrior Brewery. Fantastic.
Great.
Lock 17 IPA.
Yep.
And what those guys do over there, amazing. What Bo does is amazing. And it gives Tuscaloosa that cool vibe. That's what I like about it.
It does.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think about growing up here, and I mean, there were two places you never went, downtown and the riverfront.
That's right.
There was nothing about a cool vibe growing up in the city.
Yep.
And today it's rocking and rolling. And
Oh, yeah.
Downtown is amazing.
It is, and then you have these local breweries again putting out this great product, and this is an amazing to me. This is my favorite beer by far.
Definitely one of the smoothest IPAs I've ever
Oh, yeah.
drank. I mean,
Got 7.3 alcohol.
It's not too heavy. Like
Yeah.
you can drink several of those. As bad as it sounds to say, but
7.3.
it's true.
Yeah, it gives you a good buzz.
It does.
But you were the mayor during like the whole free the hop stuff too. Like when all this like got rolling, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
For the craft brewery stuff,
Yeah.
that had to have been interesting times.
It's amazing the switch. I remember I think it was 16 or 17, we decided to do our town hall meetings in the local breweries. And we got actually negative feedback on that about
I believe it.
I believe it.
why would you do that? I don't think today you would.
No, you wouldn't.
But that was just 6-7 years ago. I think people's attitudes have changed. I think I think it was hard for people to understand that beer could be, and this may be a bad analogy, like wine.
Yeah, for sure.
It's artisan.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now you even see it in the bourbons and whiskeys we were talking about earlier. So I think people now understand that it's more than just, pounding half case of natural lights, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's
But that's not
about
bad either.
enjoying. Yeah, and I've done that. I did that. I think I did that Saturday. But
Ryan definitely did that Saturday.
But there's definitely an art to it now.
Absolutely.
And
Oh, yeah.
And these people have degrees, and I mean, they're chemists. I mean, it's crazy.
yeah, and then what I think's so cool about both of our breweries, but even with what Bo does at Druid City, it almost has this iconic feel. I mean, you come in and there's a chalk. There's a chalk, I call it chalk painting. I don't know what the technical term is, that Ryan, it should be. And they're doing things for the community. I mean, it is just, even when we had the python loose in Alberta.
That's right.
There was Bo, and we're still looking for that python, but we're going to find it one day. One day we're going to find
And
it.
we're so lucky to have him too. I mean,
yeah.
because like you said, it's like the community outreach they do. It really goes beyond just making booze, which the booze part's fine. Don't get me wrong, but that when we're talking about this like this industry going into the 21st century, like that's what it looks like. Like it's not speakeasies and moonshine stills.
Well, what do you think happens? Is there still going to be a place for the Miller Lights, Bud Lights, the Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch? I mean, is that just going to be? Is this the future, more of the Craftsman, or is it going to be more of just still the major brands that are out there?
I know a lot of the major brands, like since in the restaurant industry, they're trying to get us to carry more and more crafts because they're seeing a decline in like the Miller, Bud Light, like you were saying, the standard ones. So they're always bringing like, hey, try this, try this, try this. But I notice a lot of customers, like they're stuck on their brands. Just like with tequila, I always tell people, try this so-and-so tequila. No, I want Patron. I'm like, it's not that good. Try this one. No, I want Patron. Patron's the best. I'm like, okay, whatever you want.
They got a better marketing budget for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's the same with Bud Light, Budweiser, Miller. That's like those. It's hard to break people. They've been drinking it their whole life.
Yeah.
Like, here, try this, IPA that Bo did. Nah, I want a Miller. Like, just try it. Nah.
Yeah.
And there'll always be those like diehard drinkers too, you know, that are so stuck on their brand that, so I think there'll be a place for it, but there's so much room for everybody in that sphere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And there's just times where you want a light beer. I mean, for me, I don't ever say I want a Budweiser, but a Bud Light or a Miller Light or the two light beers of choice that I keep in the refrigerator at home.
Just something kind of like how this one is. Bo made it. Like you said, it's light. It's not too heavy. I don't feel like I'm drinking straight alcohol, and I don't feel like I'm drinking some natural ice or something.
Well, you can put that in an IV drip and be fine.
Yeah. Have you tried that?
Not recently, no.
Speaking from experience. So y'all are the experts on alcohol, right? I don't know how that comes across, by the way. So what is it about this beer that I can't tell you what makes it good? It's just good to me. Mm-hmm. But so what makes this beer so dang good?
What you think, Matt?
It's definitely got a hoppy flavor, but yet it's smooth. Where a lot of IPAs are not smooth. They
bitterness.
Like my wife will not drink. She will now, thank God, drink an IPA. But used to, she wouldn't because it was too strong. I don't know. It's too hoppy.
It's like heavy.
It is. And the alcohol content's usually a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Which I like, but
with this one though, it's almost, and this is going to sound silly, but this is one of like the few beers that tastes like it looks. Like, if that makes sense, that it has like a very like clear look to it. It's not like real dark, but it drinks that way too. Yeah. Like again, going back to what I said, you can drink 5 or 6 of these and have a good time.
Matt's the IPA guy here for sure.
Dude, I love an IPA.
I'm just recently getting into some craft beer with Matt. So
okay, what do you think of Lock 17 IPA?
It's good. It is a good beer. I wish we had more breweries in town, but I love Black Warrior. I probably go to Druid City more, just because maybe the vibe.
Yeah,
I like the vibe a little better over there.
What's the difference between downtown and like?
It is.
Small
it's a little more. I'd say corporate or whatever, and I don't know. Druid City feels like Asheville to me, which I like. I like that hippie feel.
Well, and it does. You're right. You've got that downtown feel.
Yeah.
And then you've got kind of the, actually, that's a good way of putting it. There's just a different vibe.
It is.
Yeah. And this to me, this beer, as I was telling y'all before we got started, originally was the Lamplighter. And that is where my parents got engaged in the early 60s. So,
wow. Very cool.
So not only is it a great tasting beer, it has an importance to me because I wouldn't be talking to you today if my parents wouldn't have got engaged at the Lamplighter. Still married 54 years
Very cool.
today. So, so every time I think of it, it brings back good memories because every time we went past that as a kid, my parents say that's where we got engaged. Yep. That's where Coach Bryant used to feed the football team. I've heard that story 1,000 times, and so it has a special memory.
But it gives you a sense of place, and I think that's what Druid City does so well. I think they have like a North Porter, which
is
heavy
really good. And
it's fantastic.
And I'm not a heavy beer guy, but the North Porter is something.
It's one of the best porters out there. I mean, it really is.
And I'm not like big on like dark heavy beers, and it's but it's like it goes back to that sense of place that they have. That's something that like a local community brewery offers you that again the big boys don't.
Exactly.
So what do you not like in an IPA? The bitterness?
I love an IPA, everything about it. 100. I mean, I love everything. I love the bitterness. My wife, now she drinks an IPA, but she used to not. But she's acquired that taste. And I think it is an acquired taste.
For sure. Yeah.
Do you find it hard to go back to a Miller Lite or a Bud Light?
Not on game day, I don't.
That's
Because I try to pace myself.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, that's for pacing purposes,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, that goes back to like the whole free the hops thing that like the big dude who was like opposed to it was like our beer drink's good, don't it? Like we got
What's wrong with the beer we got?
Right, what's wrong with the beer we got? Like
Well, nothing. Nothing's
right.
wrong with the beer we got. But this is actually, to me, it's a very good beer. And for somebody that you don't want to, and especially the older I get, the less you're able to drink.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you can't. You can have one lamplighter and feel good for the rest of the evening. And
That's right.
And it's it is filling. I'm sure it's like 800 calories per 12 ounces, but it's fantastic.
But I think it's a great beer for somebody who doesn't like IPAs.
right,
or
absolutely.
has tried it and hadn't liked it because it's very smooth.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about the local breweries that Matt's on a soapbox about, that we only have 2 of them. We need some more local breweries here.
We do.
And what does that look like? Like, I mean, how do we need to offer them economic development incentives, or like how do we?
100%. Why wouldn't we?
I'm not the politician. I'm just sitting by one.
But I think distilleries are the new breweries.
Yeah.
So I would love to see a distillery come in here.
Absolutely.
In this area.
I think the best case for us in getting more of the local breweries, distilleries, is the success of Druid City, is the
Yeah.
success of Black Warrior. That gives people confidence to go out. Right now, in a high inflation market, I don't know if you're going to have a lot of that.
It is.
But
It's
once inflation begins to step down, people feel more comfortable in going to borrow.
Yeah, for
then I
sure.
think you're going to see a couple of that. I mean, Tuscaloosa has explosive growth. We are a young city. The average age in Tuscaloosa is 29. The state average is around 33, 34. So we're a young city by comparison, and so that's a good thing. And I think, too, a lot of our population, and I've noticed this even in my own neighborhood, they're not from Tuscaloosa. They came to school here,
Yeah, and stayed here.
stayed here.
Yeah.
And so where they came from, they had this. And they expect you to have it, and they want more of it. And so I do think you're going to see more of that into the future as well.
Because we have, over half of the university is from out of state?
63%, I think,
So,
was the last.
I mean, they're used to big city
Yeah.
products.
That's one thing I noticed when I went to UA. They, hey, where are you from? From Northport. You're from here?
right. Oh,
I was like the only person in the class of 100 from.
They were like, is that from Virginia? Is that-
They're like, you didn't go somewhere else? I'm like, no.
That like this is like a rare collection of people like actually from here. Most podcasts
Born
are
here.
from,
Yeah, they're like, where are you born? I'm like, right there, and I live right there, and I'm going to school here.
But that's a great opportunity for us, because if we can create a community which they want to stay in,
Yes.
For sure.
then we've got a real chance. If this century is not like the last century, where you had to have a big company, you had to have either a rail spur, an interstate, you had to have a major airport. Now you just need a laptop.
That's right.
And so there's a different dynamic. That's why we passed Elevate, so we can make investments to make this a cooler community.
For sure.
I want my daughter Taylor, who's 21, if she wants to stay in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
And so this generation, these college graduates, choose their community before they choose their job.
That's true.
And that's the race we're in to keep those students. And right now, we lose about 90% of those students out of Tuscaloosa County. And I don't know what the state data point is, but I know it's high. And we've got to retain that intellectual talent to stay in
for sure.
Tuscaloosa and in our state.
And that deep south brain drain thing is a very real, like across multiple states. It's not like, just Alabama.
Right.
And we do. It's like having amenities like that, like Druid City, really does make a difference with, you're walking around, being
Something to
happy
do.
where you're at.
I think even the new Pop Stroke that's coming, that's going to be a huge for the
absolutely.
community.
Oh, yeah.
Just something, like you said, like something to do and something to hang out. So you're not like, oh, let's move to Birmingham or somewhere else where they have more stuff. Like, that's going to be awesome.
Well, it's
Looking
like-
forward to that for sure.
Having a top-tier amphitheater that's competing for shows. To be in a tertiary market and do what we do has been fantastic. Riverwalk trails, great parks. People want those type of outdoor, especially post-COVID, want those type of outdoor amenities, and we've worked hard to make that happen. Now, it's expensive. It's not cheap. I was talking about my dad earlier. My dad thinks we should only spend money on fire and police and roads. And anything else is a waste of government money.
Shout out to Dale Phillips on that one.
Yeah, and so, and in 1970, that's right.
Right.
But today, to attract people into your community, that is a given. Those three things, that's just okay. That's where you start. Now, what do you add to the formula to make it work?
That's right.
And so that's why you have to do these other things. That's why you've seen Nashville, Louisville. The list goes on and on. Yep. They're not doing it just to do it. They're doing it because they see it as a smart, strategic decision. And I've been really glad the city of Tuscaloosa is doing it. To their credit, you see Northport beginning to make that turn, and they're doing it. And I think that's wise on their part. And because, by the way, their success helps us. Yeah. And certainly our success helps them.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And they got the water park coming soon.
That's right.
Ryan's pumped about the water
park.
That's
right, but big pumped.
I hear you're going to be the first person down the slide.
No, if it opens, absolutely.
By the way, that was Ryan Phillips.
That's right. That's right.
The founder of Patch.
But we had talked about before, like asking you a bunch of like really quick, like,
let's do it.
Cuff questions.
Let's do it.
And one that I had thought so much about was like, what was the first thing you ever drank?
Oh, not the first thing I ever smoked.
That's question too. You can answer that how you see fit.
The first thing I think I ever drank was Mad Dog 2020. We got it from a gas station, Buddy's, that was up near our house. I grew up in Idlewood.
Buddy Powell's gas station.
Well, I didn't say that. I can't remember. I got my sister's sister. She had a fake ID to buy it for me, or if I got it. But that was my first introduction, and I won't say the name of that person because he didn't give me permission. But I remember getting it, and we ran into the woods and we drank it. And I think I can't remember if I threw up, but I remember I didn't drink for a long time after that. So that was my first introduction to alcohol. Mad Dog 2020.
I think we've all had that.
And but that Boone's Farm Fever. Like,
strawberry.
Yeah, absolutely. That or the blue. Like blue isn't really a flavor, but they definitely market it as such.
But somewhere down my path, Jack Daniel's became my whiskey of choice. Mm-hmm. And so that if I've had a bad day and I need a strong drink, it's going to be Jack Daniel's. And I've never
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, I've been looking over here at the Eagle Rare and some of the the more what I call the pinky brands of whiskey and bourbons. I've always found Jack Daniel's is what fits me.
Mm-hmm. Do you drink it straight? Do you mix it?
I can go neat, and then sometimes I like putting a little Sprite or Diet Sprite in there. It just depends upon the mood. If it's if it's going to be a work day, most of the time you just do a little neat, and then you drink that, and you're ready to go to bed and get up the next morning early. But if you're celebrating something and you want to, you were talking about pacing yourself, mix it a little bit, and that way you can stretch out.
Keep
the
on
fun
going.
Of it. Yeah.
You need to try out on the end right there, Dread River Whiskeys. It's kind of like the Jack Daniel version they sell. Okay. That's at Birmingham. Give a plug to our buddies over at Dread River.
Yeah.
They do a whiskey, a bourbon, a tequila, because it's made in Birmingham, so it's a blue agave. And then do a vodka, rum, and a gin.
Well, we just might have to take a little sip of that too. I mean, this is all city work here. I'm doing this for the people. Right now.
And you have a driver, right?
Well, right there. He's
got a TPD car outside. He's going to drive himself. Yeah.
I'll tell you, that's one of the nice things about it is that to get you to point A to point B quickly and back and forth. So that's been one of the things. I got to thank Mayor DuPont for that. He left me that gift, and that's one of the probably one of the cool things about being mayor is you're everywhere and across this city. And you learn a lot. I mean, today we've been through Alberta and then back over here. And so it just reminds you how special this place is. And
it really is.
And doing things like this, talking about breweries, as I mentioned earlier, I never dreamed our community would ever have anything like this. And, I'm glad to be part of it.
And as hard as folks fought it for forever, too. Yeah. Like, to see where we're at today is amazing. Like, But another question I had for you is just kind of selfish journalistic reasons is, you just went back to UAB, to celebrate with your old team. We don't hear a whole lot about like your football days. Like I've always been interested to learn a little bit more about that.
That's because there wasn't many, man. As my coach told me one time, well, actually, to tell you how bad I was.
Did you play for Watson Brown?
No, but I did graduate coach for Watson Brown.
Okay.
And when Watson hired me, he goes, Walt, I decided to hire you because I looked at your film the last 4 years. And he said, I could tell you've made a lot of All-Americans.
Poster boy.
And so he figured I'd have to be a great coach. I mean, look how many All-Americans I made as a player at UAB. But no, I actually I wasn't a very good player. I played second string behind a guy named Josh Evans, who spent 11 years in the league. And Josh just passed away of way too young of pancreatic cancer. It really hit us all who played when he was my roommate one year. But that was a great experience for me because Josh was so good he never had to practice. So I got to be first and second string all week and second string on game day. But
now, what made you a good football player?
You know what?
You were a defensive lineman, right?
Defensive lineman. You know what? And I take great pride in this, although at the time I didn't realize my coach really wasn't complimenting me. He'd always say if we had 100 Walt Maddoxes, we would never lose a game. And so what he was saying is that guy hustles and gives everything that he's got. And that was me, and that's how I tell you what made my philosophy on life. Am I allowed to cuss on this show?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not the daddy on this show, but
okay.
I'm sure they'll be
I didn't
fine.
know. But and I've told this story before, but I think my 10th grade year or 9th grade year, it was the first time to ever go into spring practice and practice against the varsity. And Coach
This
Ed,
is Super Central.
Super Central. And this is Ed Reed. And so I guess it was first day in pads, but we were in what's called it's the Oklahoma drill, but we were between two red boards in a sand pit, and it was Nate Miller, who played at LSU, and Harold Bishop, who played at LSU, and both of them went and played in the pros.
Wow.
And here I am as a freshman, and they blew off the ball, and it was like I had roller skates on, and I go about 15 yards backward, and Coach Reed just starts yelling at me, and I guess the only reason why he knew my name because it had Maddox, the masking tape running across. He goes, Maddox, if you're gonna F up, you've got to do it wide ass open.
That's right.
And that's literally been my philosophy in life. Because anything that I do, I try to do it wide open, and
I like it.
And so that's why I've always been a great understudy, I guess, but because I could hustle and fight, and I think that's why my teammates, we've always had a great relationship at UAB, and it was always fun being at UAB because you were always the underdog, and you were always fighting for something, and most of us all had big dreams, but not big talent. And so that gave us a real opportunity to continue to do something, not at the level of what we see, here, but still to get a chance to fight. And I love the fact there's a place for people like me at Troy and UAB and South Alabama. Definitely. And, what you see on Saturdays here, those guys are the 1 in 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And by the way, we've all become spoiled.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up. I'm 50, so I imagine I'm the oldest person at this table. I remember the end.
Matt got you beat.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. I was trying to be nice because I was at your place. I remember growing up. I remember crying. You'll love this. First time I ever remember Alabama losing was I guess it'd been 80, when we lost 6-3 to Mississippi State. And my dad and I were listening to it on the radio in the backyard in Idlewood, where I grew up, and I just started crying. I didn't know Alabama could lose.
Yeah.
I literally, as a kid, did not think Alabama could ever lose the game. And so I tell my daughter, who's 21 now, don't get used to this.
That's right.
Absolutely.
There will be a time, hopefully 15 years from now, Coach Saban will retire, but there's going to be a time where no matter who we hire, no matter how good they are, with the success that we've achieved is
it's hard to. That's what happened to my daughter. Her boyfriend, he's 19, and we lost to Texas. It just ruined this whole week. I was like, you didn't grow up through Shula and Franchoni and all that stuff like I did. Like, you got it made right now.
You didn't get excited about Mike Price when we hired him.
That was a great 15 minutes.
And, hey, we're about to air the ball out. And
it was our destiny. It was over. Is that right?
Pensacola, Florida is always our downfall.
I hear Richard Rush was there. I don't know if there's a plaque there at the club that marks the occasion. Now, please send all cards and letters to Ryan Phillips.
That's right.
And that's one thing I like. You talk about. People always tell me they're like, you don't do anything half-assed, do you? Like just with the podcast. Well, me and Matt hey, let's do a podcast. 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now we have this whole studio set up.
This is remarkable.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I hear you're like this tequila taster. Like
Guru.
you are the guru, the grandmaster,
Tequila sommelier.
Yes, whatever title you can give, supreme leader of it. You're the Kim Jong-un of tequila.
We'll have to punch out after that one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So how do you fall into that?
Well, just being with Jalapenos with the restaurant, and then when we started doing downtown, getting into the tequila bar. So I told Giovanni, I was like, I want to beat whoever's in town, leave their name out. I want to have more than they have. So I think they had 40. I was like, I'm gonna have 80. So I would text Giovanni every morning. We got 81. We got 82. And he's like, what the hell? I just kept like, we got 84. We got 110. So now we have 257.
And this dude has a motor that don't stop.
And so
Yeah.
How do you? I mean, to me, and again, I know it's not as simple as saying it because at some point, don't they all taste a little bit alike? I mean,
yes and no. It's like I guess like with beer, like I was all beer tastes the same. I'm not a big beer fan. Then Matt started getting me into some more craft beer and different stuff, and you start getting the palate for it and tasting the different sides of it.
Okay.
So with the tequila sommelier, I did like 400 hours of study. And it goes from like, from the fields all the way to what you get if you went to ABC and bought a bottle. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of eventually learned. You learn the palate of it. And
you have to take like big boy stuff. Tests for that too, right? Yeah.
So how many bottles of tequila have you probably drank?
I don't know, a lot. I've tasted every one of them downtown, so
really
that's helped out. And then having all the connections with the reps and ABC. Then Matt's like, hey, let's do a podcast. I'm like, well, I got all these connections. Like, we can get all kind of cool guests on and talk about a variety of stuff. So
and y'all have killed it, too. Y'all have absolutely killed it with the guests y'all have gotten.
So your tequila of choice, I mean, if price was no issue, if you're going to sit down and have some tequila.
Actually, price really doesn't matter because the higher stuff is not as good, actually, sometimes. There's a few in there. Like, there's a Tears of Girona. It's $300 a bottle. It's really good. But then my go-to is probably Dos Primos. I think it's $39 a bottle by Thomas Rhett.
Really?
Wow. Dos Primos Blanco. It's really good. Like, I like just sipping on that one.
Okay.
And, of course, we got our jalapenos tequila up there, Ryan. The one right there on the end. The one that says jalapenos, Ryan.
Yeah, I can't read, though. Like,
I see it right there. I'm with you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He said right there, and I'm looking like,
well, it's like I'm the only, illiterate journalist, in Alabama. But
that's our private barrel we did. We only got about 10 bottles of that left, actually.
Oh, well, I'll just walk around and hook this up to, IV drip.
So how do you get a private barrel?
We picked it down in Mexico. So they have, just like we do, like we're talking about Jack Daniels. They have old, the regular Jack Daniels. If you buy it here, buy it in Mississippi, buy it in, Spain, it's going to taste like Jack Daniels. But if you get a single barrel, they're all a little bit different to it. So it's the same with the tequila. So if you taste Don Julio Reposado, it's completely different than that single barrel Reposado.
Yeah. Well,
so it's really cool how it works.
Ryan will know that federal indictment's coming against me when he sees me buy a barrel of Jack Daniels.
But I'll just cover it up, though. I'm in on the conspiracy.
That's my goal one day, man.
Get it?
No, not the federal indictment, by the way. Jack Daniels. Let me be clear on that.
Well, like I said, I'll gladly run interference on that
one. So this has been really well for us, and me and Matt earlier today were talking to what's his name, Patel at Home Package Store. As we tried his Old Forester pick he did, and he said he's actually doing a Jack Daniels pick next.
Yep.
Hey,
I told him hey, we'll go with you. He's like, you want to really? I'm like, yeah.
So hopefully we'll get to go with him and help pick that barrel.
See, that was one of my big regrets about not winning the governor's race was not, having the connections to ABC. That was that was really the main reason why I was running was that.
I mean, you just get delivered by the pallet to the governor's
That's
mansion.
Right. So that Old Forester, so that's a single barrel. Okay, I don't have my glasses on. So single barrel. So I guess it's kind of like the Jack Daniel's single barrel.
Yeah.
It's just it's just
so like say if jalapenos did an Old Forester, it would taste different than that one because it comes from a different barrel.
Yeah.
Even though it's the same product, it has that little differences. Like if it's top of the warehouse, bottom, wherever it's at.
Yeah.
So you can actually tell the difference. So kind of like we were talking about with tequila, like you can tell the difference it doesn't have to be expensive. Like we have some really expensive ones downtown, like $75 for a shot. Mm-hmm. I don't even really like it that much.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, what's the best one you got? I'm like, that's the best one, but this one's pretty good. But if you want to spend $75, I'll sell it to you. Yeah. I was like, but actually this one for $15 is a whole lot better in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to tell.
That's not good business.
But now, so as a partner and sponsor of this show, first off, I'm going to throw my weight around.
There you go.
A little
Come on.
bit, to ask the tough questions, I want to go around the table and hear what your favorite drink is, but I want to know why. Like really tell me why it's your favorite. It doesn't liquor, beer don't matter.
Go ahead, Matt. Start with you.
You want me to start?
Start with you. Go this way.
I like a snake handler. From is it Good People? Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a very high alcohol beer. It's about a 2 beer for me.
It's a great taste. Too.
It is. It is. It's phenomenal taste, and I just like the flavor of it. So that's me, but I'm a beer guy.
You are. I bounce back and forth between bourbon and tequila, I think, depending on the mood. Mm-hmm. I can hold my tequila a whole lot better. I learned that when we were in Mexico, me and Gio.
Give us a good Giovanni story.
Yeah.
From Mexico.
We'll come back to that one. We'll finish the answer, and we'll come back around. I got a good one.
Jack Daniels, man.
I mean, that's what I was about to say. I like Jack Daniels, their single barrel rye. That's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
It's just recently coming into ABC, so if you see that, grab you a bottle. Single barrel rye.
Oh, I need to get on that. And Jack
fantastic.
Daniels Black. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just the Sinatra.
Sinatra version.
Yeah, is fantastic.
And David Allen Coe's daddy in one of his songs drank Jack Daniels Black. It's the funniest reference I could come up with. Look, I'm a big Jim Beam guy. Like, I think if we're going like, just mid-shelf whiskey, like, but the reason I don't.
What's mid-shelf?
We're talking price or we're talking taste. Like,
Matt says I'm a snobs when it comes to drinking.
Dude, I'll buy what I think is a very nice bottle, and Justin's like, that's shit.
he just turns his nose up.
I mean, he's got bottles that are like, I can't even find. So,
Yeah.
So why are you bringing me this swill? Like, no, but like what's always killed me about Jack Daniels, because I love it if we're shooting it, but it's got a little bit of a sweet taste, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you compare it to like Jim Beam, which is my like ride or die, like Jim Beam, Evan Williams, because it lacks that like little bit of I don't know what it is. Y'all know way more about booze than I do. What makes Jack Daniels just a little bit sweet, like.
Maybe just their Tennessee whiskey, the charcoal mellowing.
Because I'm sure it's like aged fairly the same way as Jim Beam is.
Just because it's superior.
But I can sit here and Coca-Cola taste test you like 2 shots of like Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, and tell you which one's the different. Like, and that's not
Pepsi
because I'm an
taste.
alcoholic. So like,
yes, say Pepsi here.
So is this what you recommended?
This is the Dread River, the one that's made in Birmingham.
It has a good smell.
Very cool people.
Very good.
yeah, I think I'll try another shot of it.
So that's like they call it whiskeys. That's their Jack Daniels kind of. It's not charcoal mellowed, so it's just a whiskey.
Yeah.
Then they do a bourbon, like I said, and a bunch of different ones.
That's good.
What you think?
That's really good.
It's very smooth.
Yeah. I was expecting more of a Jim Beam kind of bourbon taste,
yeah.
but it is definitely a whiskey.
Yeah.
And they actually have one. I need to get us a bottle. It's a Veterans Master Series they just came out with. They got a veteran master sergeant to come help them pick out a bottle. I think they just did 1 barrel of it.
That's awesome.
I think it's coming actually this week to ABC. So
Yeah,
get us a bottle,
big
try it out.
shout out to the VFW post in Cottondale. They're doing their Operation Warmth right now. So just to give them a shout out, like, go drop off like cold weather stuff, blankets, jackets, things like that. Go help some vets out.
There you go.
Definitely.
So is ABC carries this?
Yes, sir. ABC carries it. I said they're in downtown Birmingham. It's a really cool place.
That is fantastic.
It's kind of funny how because they're a distillery and they have a bar tap room up front, but how ABC's laws work, they can't do anything they don't make. So in a margarita, they can't have triple sec because they don't make triple sec. So like they have to come up with inventive ways to do things because they can't sell liquor they don't make, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So they can't put like peach schnapps in a drink because they don't make peach schnapps. So that's one of the ABC's rules. And then they say that when they make it, they ship it to Montgomery. Montgomery ships it to the warehouse. They go pick it up at the warehouse and sell it in the bar, one room over.
We have some archaic.
We do need a revamp of some ABC rules.
Thing.
Yeah, we're a little bit behind, and there's going to be a lot more coming in the future, and how all that's going to be regulated.
Yeah.
It's going to require an overhaul of a lot.
A lot of stuff.
I mean, if the marijuana commission's any indication, we're going to be struggling. Like,
And some struggles with that.
that it is 1 step forward and 8 steps back.
You brought up marijuana, so I'm going to go ahead.
But it's coming. Go
Dispensaries.
ahead. You talking about for recreational use?
Or medicinal, just either way. Just
get a card. Like,
just
Depends on if you can get a card easy. Yeah.
I think, and I think both of these things are coming, and there's nothing that can stop it.
Right.
I mean, public opinion has moved on this issue.
Yeah, for sure.
And government is always going to be slow to react to it. I think you saw with the commission a lot of bumps and bruises about never doing this before. I think at some point you'll see a lot more of this open up in the future as demand continues to press leaders to make it happen. The recreational use will be a little bit more complicated, but I could see a scenario in the next 10 to 20 years where it's no different than us drinking alcohol.
Right.
But I've never understood like the dynamics of like their commission too. It's like a bunch of I'm white, so I can say this, but it's a bunch of old white dudes that probably never smoked weed in their life, like that have really no kind of like intimate knowledge about any of it.
I think if you're on that commission, you have got to have partaken at some point,
surely,
and preferably on a regular basis. If you're going to be on the commission,
yeah. Well. There's so many. When I was running for governor, you met with so many people who could benefit by the fact of medicinal with marijuana, and so the time has come for that. And I think the recreational use, especially as you see this other states that are going through this, those will be learning laboratories. I think at some point you'll see a movement there. It doesn't mean we don't need to be responsible. We don't need to be thoughtful in how we do it.
But it starts with like the policy that y'all have implemented with just simple decriminalization for the people willing to cooperate.
Yeah.
They're not putting people in jail for dime bags,
For 20
and
years
y'all have done,
I
I will say, like, the city of Tuscaloosa deserves plenty of credit for how y'all have treated that.
Agree.
Especially while we're expanding the Tuscaloosa County Jail right now, and throwing more people in it.
Let's just be honest, and I've always said this. I said it in 18. I say it again today. If we had to throw everybody in jail, including myself, that used marijuana at some point in their life, there's no way we would have to build 10,000 jails across this state.
You're right.
It's there. It's out there. We need to acknowledge it and figure out an incremental path forward that is responsible.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's where the state, to its credit, is trying to move in that direction. And frankly, and we're all Alabama natives. Mm-hmm. The fact that they've moved this quickly is remarkable to me.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think you will see it move. It needs to be responsible. It needs to be highly regulated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
And just like alcohol is. But I think that time is coming because the public is demanding it. I've even seen it in my own family. My parents, even for the medicinal side of it, say it needs to be available.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the addiction problems that people had to Oxycontin. And
buddy. The painkillers,
which was so more readily available to anybody.
And you think about what possibly that medical marijuana could have prevented a lot of those problems.
A great anecdote for that is like we lost my granddaddy in February. I can say this now that he's dead. That he was on morphine for like most of his like older life. Because he had like severe health problems. But imagine what could have been done had he been able to have access to some of the medicinal stuff, because again, we're talking about a difference between being hooked on an opiate narcotic and just taking something that's organic.
The quality of life would have been so much better.
100%, and you're not addicted. I'm not having to worry about my grandparents sitting there breaking apart pills like junkies.
And you probably would have went and saw him more.
But I saw him anyways. But
boy, I like the way you threw that in there. Yeah, this is no whole bars. Even Granddad's death is not off the table.
It's right.
Oh, he'd be happy we're talking about him on the pod. So.
And that's what some of my law enforcement friends have also said. Like, we've never went on a domestic violence. Somebody that's been smoking weed.
Nope.
It's always meth, cocaine, the harder drugs.
Yeah.
I've never pulled somebody going 100 smoking weed. They're really just like relaxed,
like Cheech and Chong.
It might be 12.
And I'll add to it. In most cases, though, you do find alcohol. I mean,
for sure.
And so I think in anything in life, it's about responsibility.
Absolutely. That's one thing I hate. People, I'll say something about. They're like, yeah, but if you do that, people gonna be high in the pickup line for school and stuff. I'm like, we could go chug 10 more beers and let's go drive around the city. Like,
they're high in the pickup line now. Like, what does it matter?
Like you said, it's a responsibility.
Yeah, and so I think society's thoughts on that has moved, and government is even in today's world a direct reflection of the wishes of the people. Now, sometimes there's a lag time.
Yeah.
But I think that is coming. You've seen that on a lot of issues that 10 years ago, I don't think I'd ever would have thought. Social issues, other things that you've seen movement on. That has surprised me, frankly, and I think you will continue to see that trend, even in a very conservative place like Alabama.
Yeah, we might be the last state, but maybe we'll get it.
No, Mississippi will beat us out.
I thought they already got medicinal, don't they?
They do, and what's really interesting about that is that they actually have, like, you can get flour over there, like, you know, that we're only going to have like gummies and I think like the vape oils, things like that, but they have the full range of stuff over there, and their schools and their roads are going to benefit from it while we're sitting here like looking at it.
That's true.
We're having to deal with Delta 8 and shit like that.
Well, I mean, you can get on another one for me, and I talked about this in 18, sports gaming. I mean,
100%.
I mean, in lottery and things like
all that
that.
stuff.
Yeah, you know, it's just hundreds of millions of dollars a year that could be going into our schools that we're just
that people
forfeiting.
spend anyway.
They're spending it anyway.
Like, I
If
drive
you
to-
want to
drive to
spend it,
Mississippi.
you do, and if you don't, you don't.
Yeah, and we talk about keeping taxes low. If you want to keep taxes low, let's have the things that people are already going to pay for anyway somewhere else.
absolutely.
I mean, how many children do we need to educate in Mississippi and Georgia and Tennessee and Florida?
Every state around us.
Every state. And, you know, it actually hurts our non-football basketball sports, even in the state, because if you're at Georgia, you can use your Hope scholarships to go out
That's
and get
right,
baseball
100%.
players. I mean, in Alabama, our teams, our non-really revenue-producing teams, are at a disadvantage because we don't have a state scholarship program.
Now, that
So what
Hope
does it take
scholarship
for
in
us
Georgia's massive.
to change that?
You're just going to
New
have to get
leadership statewide?
a governor and a legislature that's going to truly be open and doing it. Now, I do think there is a move. Again, I think there's some forward leaning on this. I think Governor Abbey has signaled that. The legislature has signaled that. I think at the end of the day, though, you've got a tough dynamic. You're going to have, first of all, you're going to have infighting among just interest groups in the state that want the whole share of it and not want to divide the share. The other thing that you'll have is, and this is really the big problem, is you're going to have out-of-state interests who are in gaming fight it. They don't want Alabama to do that. They want to keep their centers of influence in their respective states. And so I think that's going to be the bigger problem. But
Yeah, there's a casino cartel in Mississippi that is paying big time money to keep gambling illegal in Alabama. Like, and I've been writing about that for years. So it's
and there's a reason why.
I mean, they offered the state a $700 million bailout, 5 or 6 years ago, just in exchange for exclusive gaming rights. Like, that's what we're dealing with just on something that simple. While Mississippi can get scratch off tickets and play the Powerball.
Yeah.
Like,
We need to get Fitzgerald on here. He's with the government now. Talk to him.
Well, he would immediately kick it to the legislature, but or that's what I would advise him to do.
Or he's like, I call him now Coach Prime. That's his new name.
Coach Prime. But I do think, I do hope one day Alabama gets there because other states are doing it, and our young people deserve those same opportunities in the other state. And if we want to keep Alabamians here, we've got to have
people
the
from out of
resources.
state that are coming here for the university.
That's right. And again, we want to keep our taxes low. The best way to do it is take money that people are already spending.
that's right.
I mean, this is not as if, we're taxing something that new. This is people, these are my parents and other people who go to Mississippi for the weekend, and they're spending that money there instead of here. And by the way, it's more than just going to gamble. You stay in the hotel.
That's right.
You eat in the
It's
restaurant.
economic development. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean,
It
you go drink at Druid City Brewery while you're in town. I mean, it's the other things that come with it, and
those dollars and cents add up. They really do.
and I argued, passionately about this in 18. I still feel the same way today. It's dollars on the table that could provide scholarships, universal pre-K. Help us expand Medicaid, which would be extremely beneficial. So it has a lot of things that could help Alabama long term.
Absolutely.
Now, see, you've got, and I know we've gone a long time, but I got another good journalistic question for him. The city's gearing up for this potential referendum for the school systems. So, what would you want folks to know? Because that's we just dealt with that in the county in Northport that got shot
Voted
down.
Yeah.
But we are talking about two different demographics of people there, and it's a lot of what you just talked about.
Well, I think what the school system is going to have to do, and their school board members in particular, is go out there and, like what the city did with Elevate, is say why it's needed and where it's going.
Absolutely.
And I do commend the school board. They are being transparent about this. I think one of the issues that happened, and this is just my opinion, in the county referendum is people didn't know about it, and then once they learned about it, their first thought was it's negative. They're trying to sneak something past me. I think Dr. Derry and the board are right to go make their case directly to the people. I think ultimately you're going to have to say, if you're going to pay, I'm going to pay $15 more a month. Mm-hmm. This is what I get for my $15.
That's right.
And I think, there's obviously there are going to be some people who are not going to be in favor of that. But I think, where you got to meet people in the middle is you're just going to have to come explain to Ryan Phillips what that $15 a month is going to, or whatever the cost is.
Or Walt Maddox in a poncho.
Oh, Walt Maddox in a poncho. What does that get me? And I think the hard part for the school system, and this goes for any school system, is they're only serving about 15-20% of the community.
That's right.
So what do you do? Again, I've used my parents a lot in this podcast.
I was about to say, my daddy stomps around about this. So
Yeah.
I hope he watches it.
My parents are, in their 80s. Why does this matter to them?
I don't have kids in the system. Why do I have to pay more?
Yeah, and that's where you've got to go make the case. You got to make it matters for your property value. It matters for your grandchildren. They'll have to go and make that case to make it happen. I think that's going to be very important, and I think it's the right way to do it. The people that pay our salaries are very smart, and they're smarter than sometimes some politicians give them credit for. Go be straightforward, go be honest, and let the chips fall where they may. In the end, Hardy McCollum, who we all know, longtime probate judge here, when I got elected mayor, he said, "Walt, do the right thing, and the politics will take care of itself." That has worked for me in my career. I do what I believe is right. It doesn't mean I'm always right, by the way. I do what
nobody is.
Right.
No one, but you do what's in your heart that you believe is right, and then ultimately you trust the people to evaluate it and hopefully support where you're going.
Absolutely.
I didn't mean to make this serious,
No, you're
guys.
good.
I just had him. I had him where I wanted him.
No.
I'm over here drinking, so I'm good.
Yeah.
I got one good segue. We're talking about bringing business and stuff about the Mercedes amphitheater. Is that partnership going to help bring more acts in, or
Absolutely. I mean, it's
does it get more people to come spend money in Tuscaloosa, which helps my business as a restaurant downtown?
And what do
all
I
those
need to do
events?
to get on that board to select some of these bands?
That's right. Yeah, same.
Boozy
the
Spirits.
the answer's money. What's the question?
Hey, we're out.
We make a lot of offers out there, and there's always constant negotiation. I probably 4 or 5 times a week we're signing offers. Now, it doesn't mean you ultimately get them to the ultimate contract, but we're making a lot of offers. What Mercedes does is, number one, this is a sponsorship they're investing in. This is just not naming the amphitheater of Mercedes. They are paying a significant dollar amount. Now, we don't disclose that because we are a business in competition with dozens of other amphitheaters in our region. But what this significant investment does for Tuscaloosa Amphitheater and Tuscaloosa as a whole, it does a couple of things. One, it gives us a new source of revenue that's going to allow us to make improvements over the next 10 years. We've got to keep our amphitheater modern and cool and hip and all those other things. Number two, and this is the thing about Mercedes, it's one of the best brands in the world. And when you're going to sign an artist and that artist is deciding between you, Nashville, Atlanta, and let's say Birmingham, and they're going to choose 3 of the 4, Mercedes-Benz says something.
100%.
And Mercedes doesn't put their name on things that they don't believe to be winners. Awesome. And so that artist knows it's going to be a winner.
Good venue and everything.
A great venue. And also, too, something that K-Day, that's somebody you need to have on here is K-Day, our arts and
absolutely.
entertainment director.
Yeah.
She's got the best stories in the world. She actually worked for Michael Jordan.
Wow,
So you need to get K-Day on here.
Okay.
And I got a feeling she knows how to drink, too. But Kay and her team do a great job in making that artist feel like they're the most special person, and
that's
crews.
what it takes.
It is
like,
what it
My
takes.
God, that's
Yeah.
what it takes to get good.
Yeah.
too. And I've been stomping around over the last week, which again, I know Travis Tritt has me blocked on Twitter. It's a long-standing thing.
Now, hold on a second. What's going on here? Yeah, I'll take it. Oh,
that,
why not?
I'll drink it if he don't.
It's 5 o'clock, right?
Somewhere. But I do. I love Travis Tritt. He's got a bunch of great songs. Yeah, regardless of our personal history, he's played here 5 times.
Now, hold on a second. What's your personal history with Travis Tritt? This is the news story.
Oh, yeah, well, but the hardcores know it. But know that he had shared a a photo of himself that was like a very
Glamour shot.
But it wasn't a glamour shot until somebody like doctored it on Photoshop and like put a bunch of like women's makeup on him and then started sharing it out. So I share it having a good time.
What happened between you and Travis Tritt?
That's what it boils down
He saw
to.
that. I tweeted it at him. Like I think he's right before he was going to play a show here like 2 years ago, and he's blocked me ever since. But that doesn't mean I'm not all about TROUBLE. Like But I guess my thing with the amphitheater is like I went to the very first concert that was Band of Horses and Avett Brothers.
Great
It was one
show.
of the best concerts
Yeah.
I've ever been to. I was front row. I saw Steely Dan, like the original Steely Dan there with my mom and my brother. I saw Sturgill Simpson there before anybody knew who he was. And I guess that's just like my big gripe is that like I would really like to see more like relevant artists, but I understand like kind of our geographical position that like we're a cut through town to get from Memphis or New Orleans to Birmingham or to Atlanta.
And that's why you see a lot more announcements within 2 to 3 months of the show
Right.
instead of a year out. You're going to continue to get that. I mean, this is in terms of ticket sales one of our best years ever at the amphitheater. So you're going to get that. So don't let one signing.
Oh, absolutely.
By the way, though, when we look at the pro formas of those artists, because we just don't sign an artist. I mean, we're looking at their historical attendance.
Is this the point you're going to tell me Travis Tritt's like the biggest selling artist? In Tuscaloosa.
The amphitheater will not be empty, and that's important. And because the way the amphitheater works, ticket sales really, for the most part, don't make the venue any revenue.
No.
So it's about really getting people in the seats and people then buying things once they're into the amphitheater itself. Travis Tritt has a good history of that. So I tell you what, I will get you a ticket to the meet and greet.
Well, Steve Shannon
let's see if
already
we
said
can
he was going
bring
to
you
take
two
me
together.
backstage. So Steve, if you're watching this, like I'm here. I'm ready to go to it.
I think we can find common ground. Was it who was the judge that said love can build a bridge?
That's right.
We're going to build that bridge of love between you and Travis Tritt.
I'll take a selfie with him. I'll give him a hug. Like
Then tell him who you are.
but like I'll be taller than him, so it'll be like a good
He probably sees your little head coming from a long way away though.
It is very tiny head.
Did you go to 50 Cent concert?
No, and I wanted to.
I'm gonna tell you that was the best production show that I've seen ever.
Okay, see,
it was
the best concert I've ever been to.
I've heard that.
I saw
I didn't go,
it
but
was
I heard
crazy.
I saw Jay-Z at Bonnaroo in like 2011.
Now
and
he's
it
just
was like
bragging.
the same thing. It is 100%.
And you had probably partaken
one
in
of the most
something.
like more than I should admit because my parents are going to be watching this. But
He tested positive. He didn't smoke a thing.
Tested positive for COVID. That's about it. But like. But no, I love the amphitheater. Like that's such a huge deal for us. Like I remember being so excited when it first opened, and we've had I saw Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard like perform there, and that's what I would really love to see more of. So like I'll put that bug in your ear.
We got Willie Nelson for 2032.
I hope so. He'll still be around.
Still be kicking.
I've seen. I will say I've seen Snoop Dogg in concert 3 times, and I've seen Willie Nelson in concert 3 times. They're like my 2 upper echelon.
You see
artists.
a theme here?
I do. I say something.
Hey, that's on you. That's not on me.
And Snoop quit smoking.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Recently.
he did.
I hope he's okay.
He acted like it was somebody was dying. He was like, respect our privacy in this matter.
Well, I hope he's not dying. That's
I
what
hope
scares
that's what
me.
yeah.
But they said he was smoking like 80 blunts a day though, so it wasn't
But that's like 10 cigarettes.
Is that a lot?
day. It's like Bob Dylan smoked more cigarettes in a day than that in blunts. So, and he's still kicking around performing.
That is true.
Because we can't lose Snoop. He's a cultural.
You got the
icon.
whole metric scale, don't you, of marijuana cigarettes to regular cigarettes? I'm impressed here, Ryan.
Well, it's a lot of high science, but
He's got it all figured out.
I'm not letting go of my methodology on that one.
I hear you. Anybody else you want?
Try that right there. Straight.
What am I supposed to shoot it on camera?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have
I hadn't finished that yet. I'm slow rolling here, man. I got to go back.
I'm
to
going to
work.
give you a small one right here.
All right.
It was like I'll need a whole one if I got to shoot it.
No, it's not. It's just sipping it,
Dude,
We don't have
this is-
shooting.
This is probably one of my favorite right
Ryan,
now.
will there be any articles coming out today from you later on this afternoon?
Oh, and I'm just getting started, baby. But what was it?
That's one thing you're talking about sipping though. I've been telling people with tequila, like I'll give them here, try this shot. they'll just down it. I'm like, what the hell did you do? That's a $25 shot. Like, you're supposed to sip on it, enjoy it.
Right.
Yes.
This is too good to take a shot.
Yeah,
of.
you don't want to. Yeah,
Yeah.
No, I
It
told
is.
them
It is.
they have tried
Sure.
to give me like bottles of stuff, and I'm like, don't waste that on me because I'm just gonna drink
Red
it.
River?
Like,
Red
Very
River's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it almost has almost a little cinnamon. I don't know, kind of a taste after.
Yeah, they make really good products.
What do you think about that?
We're getting them on the show.
oh, I'm
soon.
about it. But it's like Jack Nicholson said in Easy Rider. You know, it's
Oh,
like
hell.
here's to old D.H. Lawrence. Like,
Matt's just trying to get Ryan more stuff so he'll shut up.
keep, you know,
He just shot that whole freaking
that's
glass.
fantastic.
We just talked the whole thing about sipping.
Okay, Ryan. So
We just literally
can
had a whole
am
sipping
I allowed
thing.
to ask Ryan a question?
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
So Ryan, what is more fun to cover? Tuscaloosa politics, Tuscaloosa County politics,
Oh, you got him turned now.
or Northport politics?
Well, like Tuscaloosa is
No, he
more
likes
like
Northport.
like
Honestly.
big picture, like exciting, but Northport is more like community level. That's what I really care about. Don't even be laughing at me. Don't even. I am a part
why are y'all
sponsor.
laughing?
I love Northport.
By him on
Because,
that one.
they are-
Like,
But in a good way. It's a great.
in a good way.
Now I'm going to give hold on. I'm going to step up here because Glenda
You're
Webb,
gonna be
who,
the one.
Glenda
Glenda
Webb,
rocks,
who I
yeah.
worked with all those years, City did she's doing a fantastic job. I'm serious, and what they're
Oh,
doing.
Glenda is. And
But
Tara.
Tara,
what
Glenda,
would you
those are professionals. They do a great job, and I think their council is forward leaning. I like what I'm seeing. It doesn't
they're
mean
progressive, like
that's
Northport
a very political answer.
speaking.
Forward leaning.
No, he's on to something. He's on to something.
They are. They're heading the right direction.
like,
finally.
but what would you say to the folks, the troglodytes in Northport?
what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
like
That's some-
knuckle drag, like caveman. You know, the troglodyte's one of the best insults ever. But
It's a new one.
but there are a lot of people who think that like the whole like Glenda, Tara, all those like people who I love to death. They're doing a great job in Northport. That it was all like you're like extending your tentacles out to
I've never thought of that.
Put your playbook into other municipalities.
That is smart.
Because like they're
Lord.
trying to make us have a municipal government, so like you're going to be our dictator, right? Like if not you, it's going to be me because I'm going to run for it.
No, and there's no reason. No is the answer to that. Because I don't think, by the way, you'll ever see a consolidated government.
No, absolutely not.
in our lifetime. Number one, I don't think you can do it for countywide just because the urban and rural are so different.
Sure.
And second, and when you look at Northport is one of the largest cities now in Alabama. They're doing their own thing as they should. They need to do what's right for them, and I think that's what they're trying to do. I've worked with Glenda forever and Tara forever. They're
killing it.
They're top-notch professionals. They're going to do a great job, and I can assure you there's no mass conspiracy, and here's why. And I'll give you the practical reason for it. Northport's having to do two things that are very hard to do, and we had to do it a lot after the tornado, is rebuild your city while keep moving it forward. Those are very difficult things to do. Why would we want to take that on again
Right.
at the city? It wouldn't make any sense for us to want to do that. Plus, Northport's growth is really good for us because right now, if and I believe they will be successful with what they're doing on the riverfront, that's actually going to benefit Tuscaloosa
Sure,
economically.
absolutely, yeah.
I am their biggest champion because, and we don't have to make that investment. They're making it, and so that's going to be a really good thing for us.
That's metro economic development.
Yeah,
like I think
it is.
but that's kind of been my one thing about all their little wish list projects is that Kentucky is it. Like I mean, it's right on the river. You know, you can develop that. People will come and spend money on it.
I feel
Everything
like
else, though, we'll
sometimes,
see.
and this is just me, I feel like sometimes the city council maybe doesn't listen to the constituents enough.
They called the police on them for a park. Like what you
That's
talking
just me,
about?
though.
That was
But
one
I
of the-
live in
that was one of
Tuscaloosa.
the funniest, dude. I've been covering politics my entire adult life. I've seen weird stuff in the Georgia legislature in Mississippi, which is the funniest political state to cover. But I've never in my entire life seen an elected official sick the police on the people. And again, this wasn't a bunch of bikers that were, like in City Hall. It was a bunch of women and children. Like, but we're going to sick
No,
the
that's
police
worse.
on them. Good luck, like with your agenda on that one. But thank you for not calling Brent to like come, snuff people out. And it's like you did good with your police chief. So I hope to God you keep him.
I do think though there's always this natural rub, and I don't know really the particulars of that situation. What I saw in the headlines in Patch, but when we were building the amphitheater, there was actually a movement created by a former mayoral candidate called Stop the Amp.
Yep.
And there was a website, and there were commercials, and the amphitheater would never work, and the Riverwalk, no one will go down there because you'll be a victim of crime. I mean, I remember all of that, and today, everyone looks back and says we should have done it. So it's tough when you're trying to grow your community. You go through those natural points of friction, and you got to anticipate it. It happened to us too, and so I don't know about that particular situation, but I do think what they're doing is going to be good for all of us in Tuscaloosa County, and I think they're headed in the right direction. So, how about what's the best political story you've ever covered in your career outside Tuscaloosa or outside?
Tough. Your last re-election, I'll give you
Really?
that one.
Why?
Because I like you and I'm sitting by you.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. No. If I had
because of that pending federal indictment,
right? That like with politics, it's a lot like baseball to me. That like it's very much a sport. Like I'm not interested enough to ever get involved. But with a lot of the stuff that's going on in Northport, I guess that would probably be it. With some of the. I'm not going to go into this. This is an entertainment podcast. This isn't a political podcast.
We lost them a long time ago. They've already logged off now.
But I have told
they got to be drinking a lot right now.
That's right. And like I've told Richard Rush, who's sitting off camera right now, he's heard me froth at the mouth more than I can. He's
a good listener, by the way.
He really is. But he can be really shrewd and like drop the hammer on you when he needs to. But that's the difference in y'all in Northport and y'all in the county. Is that y'all are, and I think it's because you meet once a week. That it's like I don't have the energy or the bandwidth to cover that, so I depend on Richard, who's off camera, to like let me know like when bigger things are going on. But Northport is like that's where I grew up. That's small town. I'm a little bit more invested over there, and with the way they operate, you go in every 2 weeks. That. I would give anything for them to operate like the city of Tuscaloosa. I hope to God they're watching this because they are going to bankrupt. They are going to bankrupt our city like 100% if they're unchecked.
Well, I'll leave you with a funny story. When in my last election, which was really unique, you had some really strange dynamics. And coming off COVID, or we were still in COVID. I mean, it felt like Bizarro World the whole time. But my son and I were going somewhere, and there were 52 billboards put up across the city. And yes, that was the exact number. There were 52 billboards put up across the city that
I could probably guess who paid for them.
Yeah. I don't think you had to guess. I think they were pretty clear. It had anybodybutwalt.com. And my son sometimes, he was 6 or 7 at the time, he would read everything that he could, could.
That's got to be hard for a kid to understand.
And so we're going by, and he said, anybody but Walt. Dad, because he calls me Dad. Dad, that's you. I'm like, yes, son, your dad's made it, man. I made the billboard, and he thought that was just the coolest thing. Anybody but Walt. He actually thought it. So we kind of, as our family, just adopted that as the compliment of being in the public world,
But that was what, like, after really going down, and I won't name Stan, like you're probably watching. I won't name names, but because it was one of those I like really invested a lot of time on that story. And what's really funny about like if I had to give like some postmortem like behind the scenes stuff. Is that like for anybody who knows you and Stan, like that they would just think on optics that like, oh, they must just hate each other. No, like that I needled that guy for a month and a half, like trying to get like why don't you like Walt? He's like, that's not the thing. He's like, I respect him 100%. We might disagree here and there, but that speaks a lot to like who like you are as like a policy maker.
We have a very positive relationship, and in this business, you're going to have sometimes there's going to be people that are against you, but what you cannot do is let that affect the right thing to do moving forward.
But it's not against you as like wholesale what you're doing. It's just individual.
And it's his right. And, you know,
Sure.
Stan and I have, we're working right now, and we're trying to, both of our teams are working very hard to come to an agreement on McFarland Mall, and there's a lot of good energy, positive momentum. And I hope we do it because I think it can be transformative for that whole area of the city. And Stan Pate has, whether you agree with him or disagree with him, you have to give him credit that he has done a lot of great development, not only in Tuscaloosa, but across our state and nation. And so, you know, let's find a pathway forward. I know Councilor Lanier has worked very hard as well, so we'll see if we can make it happen. But, you know, it's part of the politics of it, and so you just, in this business, you just have to accept it for what it is and not take it personal.
But it's so weird that he like has a whole lot of respect for you, and it's like that's not what, like, if you ask the random person on the street, like they wouldn't they wouldn't realize that.
No, they wouldn't. And he is one of the, I tell people this, and I mean it, probably the smartest person I ever had the opportunity to be with professionally was Dr. Hubbard, Paul Hubbard. I would put Stan in that same.
Absolutely, yeah.
Stan is a three-dimensional thinker.
He's playing chess while we're playing checkers.
Yeah, and you better understand that's where he's coming from. And the thing I found most effective with Stan is just telling him what you think and the truth. And he actually respects that.
Absolutely.
It's if it's those that don't tell him the truth, it's more than just billboards. I can assure you. It's a lot worse than that.
I had to get that on the podcast, guys. Sorry.
It's Iron Bowl week.
So now that y'all have ended my political career, what else would y'all like to talk about today?
We got to make a prediction on the Iron Bowl.
When's this come out?
I'm gonna try to get out
tonight.
All right, so
that's what, because we're gonna do a like and share contest, not contest, but get you to share it and try to every share and like and new subscriber we get. Boozy Spirits will donate a canned food to the West Alabama Food Bank.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I know the competition's already over or whatnot, but
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like that's what
it's still needed this time of year.
This year, though, like that was like a first. We got stomped.
And my wife worked so hard at her school, and she was really disappointed because she's all in on it. All right, to the game. I'm worried that they're lost to New Mexico State, and there's something about the Auburn Jesus down there.
There's still Auburn there.
It is.
There's still Auburn.
I know, and there's something down there about. It's kind of like when you go play Notre Dame at Notre Dame. There's something about the echoes in that stadium.
It's tough to play.
But at the end, they did lose by 21 points to New Mexico State. So I think in the end, Alabama wins. What's the line? How much?
Spread 14.5.
14.5?
That don't make nothing, though.
Over under 49.
I take Bama to win, but I think I'd take Auburn to cover.
Because I'm so scared that they're going to just get inspired after getting whooped and end up, like, knocking us off. So I'm going to go and say it here. I'm, like, terrified we're going to get beat.
Really?
What's your prediction?
It'll be by one score. It won't be a blowout, but it'll be. But because my big argument against Auburn is they just showed everybody who they are with that New Mexico game. That you get up on them by 2 or 3 touchdowns, they're going to give up and just like fold tent. But if they get up on us, that scares me.
This is New Mexico State that played them. This is Bama that's going to play them.
Yeah, but they still have, they're a team that they took Georgia to the mat. I like 28-17 Alabama. I think it's a tight.
It's not going to be more than one score. Like
I think I want to say our defense has to be better than New Mexico State.
Our defense is so good.
So I mean I just don't see them putting a lot of points on the board if we don't self-inflict 28-17.
But that's all it's going to take is like 1 or 2 turnovers, and that becomes the game.
Some crazy thing. What about? So what's your score? I said 28-17.
I mean, it'd have to be in there because it's not going to be over 35 points, like, for either team. Like, I mean, I would honestly, it'd be like 21-14. Like, I don't know who's going to come out on the end of that. Because they're like Auburn is so like on fire right now. Like after getting drummed, that's like the best setup time.
Or did it like kill them?
It helps us if we jump on the lead. Yeah, I think if we can,
we have to get ahead.
If we jump out 14-0, then their psyche they start reverting back to being the team against New Mexico State. But if they're up, then they become the team that play Georgia.
And we haven't had to play down to anybody other than Texas. So
that's true.
What you think, Matt?
45-13, Bama.
Oh, I like that.
I like it. I'm gonna go with a 52-0 Bama.
Roll Tide.
Cal
You know,
College.
here,
This last
you notice how
game.
you and
That's
I
true.
kind of worked through the problem, and they just
we
sat
just
here.
don't
And,
with it.
yeah,
No, but
We've
I get,
already thought this out.
I
Yeah,
get
we've been
criticized
thinking about it
all
all
the
week.
time about being too big of a gump. Like I'm wearing a Bama Grand Slammers hat right now. You know that, but it's one of those. If we can get up on them early, it's over. Like, but
Yeah.
they showed like in that New Mexico State game that you jump up on them by 14 points.
How long
you
is
gotta
Hugh
beat.
Freeze at Auburn?
See, like I got my undergrad from Ole
At least
Miss,
one more
and
week.
I'm a big Ole Miss hardo. Like unless they're playing Bama, which is my hometown team, that man is one of like 4 coaches in America who can beat Nick Saban.
Oh, I think Hugh Freeze. is
He's
there
the
all
only
time.
one who's done it twice in a row.
He's going to win. I mean,
More than 2 years?
But what's gonna
Oh, yeah.
but
I
what's
think
gonna
that-
happen
yeah.
is that he's gonna self destruct his own He's never left a place better than he found it. Like that, he'll get there, get people excited, and
That's
win.
not good on a resume.
It's not, and it's like
by the way, Hugh Freeze just blocked you on Twitter.
oh, fantastic! fantastic. I bet Michael Orr didn't block me on Twitter, so you know his high school football coach.
Oh my gosh, man! I love this guy. Y'all just need a podcast there. Just feed him some alcohol and have a podcast. Let's go.
That was the whole
But it
plan.
has to be like,
That was the whole plan. That's why we brought him today.
I mean, I didn't think I'd get a Michael Orr. You know, I mean, to get that thrown in.
you gotta watch the
That's-
good,
that's next level.
the good HBO Max documentary about him. It's fantastic. Like,
And about 30 minutes ago, me and Matt almost just left to go to lunch and let Ryan take over it.
oh, that would have been so bad. I just would have like walked around, like the whole, like I wouldn't have stood up or like I wouldn't have sat down. I just would have like paced like
Pace
with
yourself.
the headphones in.
We can get you a wireless mic. You can pace
So we
around.
have 3 for Bama and 1.
Oh,
Yeah,
but
and-
Bama's gonna win,
Okay, all right, 4-0.
Okay.
4-0.
I hope so.
but it's just not gonna be as pretty as people want it to be.
All right, what about Bama, Georgia? Since we're here, we're all here.
Bama's the hottest team in football.
I agree. Right now, they are.
Like they're the people with somebody to prove.
But we might not even make it to the playoffs. Even beating Georgia,
At
we
this
might
point,
not make
At
it.
this point, it don't matter.
I'm going to take the Nick Saban approach. You got to get through Auburn.
Yeah.
You do.
I've kind of put in my mind. I'm not thinking about that. Let's just get through Saturday at 6 o'clock, and then we can let our minds wander
That
about
is
that.
true.
I do think though it'll all take care of itself. I don't
Yeah.
know why, but maybe the next 2 weeks, maybe there'll be a little bit of chaos.
You think if we win out, there's a possibility?
You know,
We would hope so.
you would hope so. I don't know how you discount the SEC. I mean,
Yeah.
if you win the SEC, how do you tell Alabama you're not in it? And I know that's tough because you got Texas in the mix. I don't think you can take Alabama over Texas though. I mean,
Yeah.
to me,
You can't. You can't.
Texas,
though?
yeah,
But you got
because
so many
Texas,
like
Texas
Pac-12
beat us
teams
here.
that are like,
They
Texas
did. They beat us here. That's
here.
At home.
fair.
Double
and that
digits.
and that has to matter.
But
So-
they've kind of had the wheels come off. Like even though they haven't lost a game, like they're not the same team that beat us.
But
Like-
and Oregon's a great story, and Bo Nix is a great story. Boy,
No, it's
wouldn't
not.
Auburn,
No, it's
wouldn't
not.
Auburn
No,
love
it's
to have
not.
Bo Nix? Oh, come on, man! You got to admit.
oh,
that
sure,
guy-
Auburn would love to have
Auburn
Auburn Nix, but like,
But are you telling me that if Alabama and Oregon played, that Alabama wouldn't win that game? I mean,
100%.
100%. They would.
especially
Yes.
right now in this season. So, you know, that's my worry is that they'll get cued and want to put Oregon over
Yeah.
Alabama.
Yeah.
If Washington wins out, they deserve to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've done the hard work. I think they've beaten the most ranked teams, is my understanding. So they would deserve to be in.
I hate Washington.
But Florida State's going to be the one. If they win out, how do people react to the fact that they don't have?
Their quarterback.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
Brad Phillips, I hope you're watching this because I just argued with my little brother about that he thinks the college football committee is 100% like we'll look at that like in considering who is the four.
They
in.
should. I think they should.
But that's like very subjective though, right? I'm just trying to be like.
But if the quarterback you have now hadn't got you to where you are now,
but
there's something to that.
Tua was our backup quarterback at one point.
That's Alabama,
Kenny
though. That's a
Stabler
whole
was our
different-
backup at one point. Like, so it's like, can you judge like the
way back.
future success of the program based on the backup quarterback?
Well, I think we'll find out. We're going to find out a lot against Florida.
it will.
I mean, Florida's an average, mediocre SEC team. They beat LSU early in the year, so hats off for that.
I don't mean
how
a
do
whole
they
lot.
How do they do against Florida? If they struggle against Florida, I wouldn't be surprised to see that doesn't weigh against them. And then they got to face Louisville the next week. And Louisville,
That's a slip-up game.
Hey, man,
and
Louisville's-
Louisville is like better than Florida, so
yeah,
agree.
and that's going to be interesting. I think Florida State with Travis was certainly a top
Travis
playoff
Tritt.
team. You Travis Tritt.
He plays for Florida now.
no.
Here's a corner, man. Here's a corner.
What if Travis Tritt was a quarterback for Florida State? Would you feel different?
Put him in the dirt, man. I'd put him in the dirt.
His Heisman Trophy picture would be a glamour shot.
But it would be one of me putting him in the ground. But no, what was your favorite like college football memory? This could be the one we ended on. Like
My favorite college
Of
football
the year or
Of my-
ever?
no, of his playing career.
Okay.
My favorite one, in fact, we just had our 30-year reunion. We beat Dayton my junior year, who had at the time, I want to say, a 56-game win streak, the longest in Division I AA history. And we beat them, and ESPN came and covered us, and
huge.
and for us that was just cathartic for us. That was amazing to be a part of. So that was my favorite part of it. That was my best memory.
Was that Legion Field?
At Legion Field, and then the next year we played them up there, and we crushed them. It was probably the best game I ever played in my career. So, to me, every time I see Dayton, it's funny. It can be basketball, baseball, softball. It don't matter. I'm like Dayton.
What
Feels good.
Sounds good.
What were your stats from your best game ever? Like in your mind,
I think 6 tackles. 6 tackles for loss.
any sacks?
That's
or,
impressive.
No, 6 tackles for a loss.
That's
is massive.
impressive. Yeah.
I don't know if there were.
But I think you were playing before like sacks
was.
was a category.
I think I only had 1 or 2 sacks. I didn't have many sacks. My first sack, though, was against Washington and Lee my freshman year. And really, I kind of more or less ran the quarterback out of bounds. But what made it so cool for us was Oliver North was at the game.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
His son would play for Washington and Lee. By the way, the best stadium in college football. That we played them in fall. I mean, there's only like 1,000 seats, right? But you walk across this bridge, or you did then, and it crossed a gully. I mean, it was, for a kid from Tuscaloosa, Alabama,
Oh, yeah.
and you
cool.
walk into all that, you're like, wow, that was something. And to beat them was a great memory for me. So that first sack is something that I'll always remember, because I can still see it in my mind, and I remember calling my dad on a payphone. Shows you how old I am. It was like, Dad, I got a sack.
That's right.
I got a sack against Washington Lee. Oh, I got the first fumble recovery in UAB history. I guess that was good.
That's
Why haven't I read
That's
that?
huge. Against Millsaps.
That's a 2,000-word patch story, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Do you know how it happened was because it was the quarterback. I got blocked. I mean, the guy locked me up, and I couldn't even move. And somebody else hit him, and the ball popped up in the air. And, of course, the offensive lineman can't see the ball, but I can. And I just reach up and grabbed it, and, man, I sped for 4 yards. And then I got tackled. But, that to me was pretty cool as well, because to get that fumble recovery.
But don't be mad at
That's
me when
huge.
you
At
when
first
you wake up to a story about that.
For forever, they thought it was the first interception. But then somebody went back and they said, no, he was hit, and he wasn't passing. But I still say it's an interception. That's my call. And so
And that is. That's
can I make
on the field.
can I make revisionist history?
Sure. Okay.
all right.
And I'll support it.
All right, I'll take it as that. So I just tell my son, no one really knows, so we'll just call it an interception.
That works.
All right.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here, Mr.
Definitely.
Mayor.
So
Had a great time.
when do we start recording?
Later.
That went off the record.
Forgot to hit record. You probably wouldn't want to start recording now because Ryan's already a little turnt, so it might be worse.
No, I live like this. We're fine.
Actually, I want to talk about Travis Tritt Day in Tuscaloosa. Will you be the grand marshal of the parade?
seriously. We need a parade that day.
I will, but only if it's approved. Like otherwise, I'm going to fight it like 100%. Like
What can we name after Travis Tritt? I mean, that's
TROUBLE. That's it.
Avenue.
We need to see if we can get a city council in Northport on board and rename his street Travis
Well,
Tritt
no,
Way.
they should just like dissolve the council and make me dictator. Like let me run Northport.
What would be your first act?
Yeah, but the fly like a big Chinese communist flag, like at City Hall, just to like stir folks up,
know. We've got
That
Kim
work.
Jong Un,
Yeah.
Chinese flag, and this. This is all you could ever ask for
That's
in a
it.
podcast.
That's good.
That's great.
I can't get canceled. I love you.
Do you think you could get a coffee shop, or did it get canceled like happened to us?
I do love coffee a whole lot.
That's kind of what I was going to mention earlier when we were talking about the amphitheater with the coffee shop that they pulled out of the deal because they got so much feedback for the community center, and they're like, we don't want all this backlash, so we're not going to build a coffee shop anymore. I'm like, come on.
We got like
Yeah.
8 coffee shops downtown. Like they're doing good.
Yeah, we don't have one in Northport.
Fuck no, we don't. And I'm tired
why.
of it. Like
That's what my point is.
I love Athena's.
Dr. Rush is really going to earn his money with the city
yeah.
after this podcast comes out.
I love Athena's. I love Heritage House. I'm not mad at them, but I don't have because to me, I look at Heritage House as sorry, no offense, but like a Tuscaloosa type brand.
It's awesome. Heritage House is awesome.
It's fantastic, but like we don't have anything in Northport like that. And Athena's is so like drive through, like shorter, and they do great stuff with like their like pre-made meals, all that. But like they don't have cold brew. I have to get like the big like this size like bubble tea straw to like drink my coffee. You know.
That's a good segue.
Hey.
You have to go to Tuscaloosa to get your cold brew.
We got some cold brew right here, bro.
Me and Matt have to go to the
That's the
city
only
to get our
cold
lotto
brew I'll
tickets.
drink. Like,
Right? Everybody's spending money elsewhere where you could be spending in your city.
Man, something weird happens when you put on the poncho.
That's it. Something weird happened.
Just weird.
I'm taking that home with me.
I want to see that when he gets reelected. I want to see him in that poncho.
Need to.
You got it.
But like a good question to end with though
this is like the third good question to end with, man.
But you're doing great. You're doing great.
He is doing amazing.
That like what makes you like want to be mayor? What makes you want to be a politician? Like
What gives you that drive to run for mayor?
Hey,
Initially,
Besides Jack Daniels.
Besides Jack Daniels, yeah, and that's definitely a draw. No, I love what I do. I mean, I absolutely love what I do, and it's hard for me to believe that a kid from Idlewood gets to be mayor of the city of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And then, earlier today we were looking at a couple of projects downtown, and we look at the amphitheater, we look at what's going on in the River District. To be part of all that, to be part of our tornado recovery, to be part of all these things, I love what I do. I don't ever wake up and go, man, I don't want to go to work today.
Right.
It's such a privilege, and I can't imagine right now in my life doing anything else. I love what I do. I have no ambitions to do anything else. This is where I want to be, and I love it. And probably one of the best things that happened to me was not winning in 18, although we worked hard and wanted to win. This is actually, I'm having more fun than ever. And so that's what drives me to do it. It's cool.
So
being
why
part of
is it
this.
that local politicians can work together, but when you get on a state and a national level, you can forget about it?
Because both parties.
I mean, I'm sure it's money, a lot of it.
I mean,
Both
like
parties-
this guy got to hang out with Charlie Sheen. Like he's
mean,
on a different
That is
like,
a whole-
political level like than the rest of us.
both parties are insane.
Yeah.
they're
Absolutely.
They're insane. And
As a politician, would a third party help?
Oh, I
So
think
people
it
have
would.
to work together?
what,
But it'll never win anything.
I mean, I get it'll never happen.
Like a pizza party.
I'm a
Like a boozy spirits party.
Yeah, I'm a political dinosaur because I'm what you probably. My parents were what they called Reagan Democrats, and that's where I am.
Yep.
I am a person that believes that you should be fiscally responsible, that you should only give people a hand up, not a handout. But I also believe that hand up needs to come in the form of things like a Hope Scholarship
right.
program or pre-K or things like that.
Yep.
But I believe you've got to be tough on crime. You've got to be proactive in investing in infrastructure. But people like me in that middle, that raging moderate, we're dinosaurs. We're dinosaurs. People have gone to the extremes, and they belong to a team. I'm either Team Republican or Team Democrat, and I don't care about the quality of the candidate anymore. It's about what team you're on. And that's just not in Alabama. That's probably spread out across all 50 states.
How do we get over that as a country?
You got to gerrymandering. You've got to reform Congress. It starts with congressional districts. If you can
That's
reform
true.
congressional districts to be where the battle is in the
But
general election.
They'll just gerrymander those districts.
I know, but until somebody's going to have to come in at some point, and we're going to have congressional districts where the fight is for the middle and not for the extreme. Right now, if you're a Democrat, you're not worried about the middle, you're worried about your liberal extreme. If you're a Republican, you're not
That's
worried
right.
about the middle, you're worried about the conservative extreme. right now, that's where the battle of politics is being played. That's why somebody like me can only exist at the local level, because the moderate doesn't have a place in today's state and federal makeup. And that's where we are, and we've got to begin there with both on the state and federal level of gerrymandering. We've got to go back to competitive districts, in my opinion.
I like it. Good answer.
So,
I'll drink to that.
all right,
That's right.
guys, I got to go back to work, man.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I
you're
do.
fine.
Yeah,
Like, if my taxpayer money's funding your paycheck, like,
you give me
you're
the
good.
You
You're
give me
good. You can sit here with me as
give
long
me a
as you
day
want
off?
to.
I'll play us out before Ryan asks another question.
Just a